Okay, music theory students, here's another installment. This time we are going to discuss all the types of augmented sixth chords. Again, augmented sixth chords are chords that approach the dominant from up above and contain an augmented sixth interval in it that expands to the octave. Let's take a look at that on one staff. So let's say we are in the key of C minor. C minor has three flats, B, E, and A flat. And here is our augmented sixth chord in the key of C. So let me first compose a C minor triad. And now here is an important chord. Here is the dominant chord, which is G. B natural. Again, this is the raised leading tone, and D. Now, we need a chord, an augmented sixth chord, that gets us to the dominant. And here is 1. And that chord is an augmented sixth chord and comes in three forms. First, we'll look at the most basic form, which is the Italian 6-3. That chord is a chord that has the lowered sixth in it. All augmented sixth chords have the lowered sixth in it. This is an A flat. Again, it already is an A flat due to it being in the key signature, and it is a lowered sixth. The Italian 6-3 also has the tonic in it, and then it has sharp 4 in it. Sharp 4 in the key of C minor would be, students, F sharp. That F sharp rises up to the G, and this lowered sixth descends down to the G, and they open up to an octave. Italian 6-3 chords, once again, have lowered sixth, scale degree 1, and raised 4. Okay, now we're going to look at another type of augmented sixth chord, and that is your German 6-5. Again, on one staff. Let's change key to make things more interesting. Let's go to the key of E minor. Students, E minor key signature, 1 sharp, F sharp. Here is your E minor triad, E, G natural, B, and we need our augmented sixth chord to get us to 5. So here is our German 6-5. This is another type of augmented sixth chord. This chord, once again, has all of the notes of the Italian 6-3, which are your lowered 6, which is your scale degree 1, which is your sharp 4, and it has one other note, your lowered third. Again, if you were in minor, you don't need to lower the third. It already is lowered in comparison to its major component. If you were in minor, you don't need to lower the sixth. It already is lowered. You don't need to touch the 1 since it remains as in the tonic, but you do need to raise 4, whether in major or minor. Okay, now getting to our German 6-5, our bass note is always the lowered sixth. So in the key of E minor, students, what is scale degree 6? C. C is your lowered sixth, and that note proceeds to the dominant, which is a B. B is the chord, is the tone that is scale degree 5 in the key of E minor. Okay, now the other notes of the German 6-5 are lowered sixth. You need your scale degree 1, which is an E. You need your sharp 4. Students, what is sharp 4 in the key of E minor? A sharp. Once again, these are the notes of the Italian 6-3, but the German has this added note, the lowered third. Students, what is the lowered third in the key of E minor? It is your B. It is your B. Okay, let's look at the voice leading resolution needs for this. The A sharp rises to the fifth, the lowered sixth descends down to the fifth, the tonic tone shifts over and holds, and the third scale degree also holds. Now, how can they hold? Well, we learned in class that German 6/5 chords like to proceed to cadential 6/4 chords. Cadential 6/4 chords are also known as your 1/6/4 chord. They have the notes of the tonic triad, 1, 3, and 5, and it's got scale degree 5 in the bass. So this is your cadential 6/4 chord. Cadential 6/4 chords proceed to dominant chords by having the fourth and the sixth descend to 5 and 3 respectively. There's your standard 5 chord. So here's your cadential 6/4 moving into your 5 chord. Any alterations that have to be made here in this chord? Yes, one tone. The leading tone needs to be raised in minor. And what is that tone? Students, in this chord, what is the leading tone? It's this tone, your D. Your D needs to be made D sharp to rise back to the tonic when it resolves. Okay, going back to our German 6/5, to review, flat 6, sharp 4, scale degree 1, and the lowered third. It's a richer chord, and once again, German 6/5 chords like to resolve into a cadential 6/4, move into a 5 chord or some sort of 5/7, and resolve. And finally, let's move into our final type of augmented chord, and that is your French 4/3. So let's choose a major key this time, a major key. Let's go nice and easy on you today. Here's the key of G major. Here's your G major triad, 1. Let's move on. Here is your French 4/3. That chord has all of the notes of the Italian 6/3, which are your lowered sixth in the key of G. Your lowered sixth has to be an, that's an E. But how do you lower sixth in a major key? That chord, that tone, becomes an E flat. The Italian 6/3 has the note, the tonic, which is your G, and it has sharp 4. Students, what is sharp 4 in the key of G? C sharp. Now finally, the French 4/3 has one other addition. When the German 6/5 had scale degree 3 in it, the French 4/3 has scale degree 2 in it. 2, an unaltered 2. So once again, flat 6, 1, 2, sharp 4. How to resolve this chord? Typically resolves to 5 or 5/7. Flat 6 moves down to the dominant. Sharp 4 moves up to the dominant. Scale degree 2 can sustain since it exists in the dominant chord. Scale degree 1 descends down to the leading tone, which is F sharp. Now in this chord, we are missing, we have the root, which is the fifth, we have the leading tone, we have the second. If you wanted to make this chord a dominant seventh chord, you'd have to include scale degree 4, and that's where first your sharp 4 needs to rise to 5, then you can descend with it as a passing tone, but be sure to cancel out the effect of the raised fourth and incorporate it there as a melodic line that proceeds after that arrival at 5. It's also possible to have the D leap up to the C natural and strike that dominant seventh chord at once. In the music example we saw in class, the C, to make it the dominant seventh, was incorporated after the melody had first become a dominant chord. So French 4/3s like to become 5 chords and then somehow proceed to 5/7, or vice versa. Okay, so students, that's your overview of what augmented 6 chords are. Again, they like to proceed to the dominant. And let's do a short overview. There is your Italian 6/3, you have your German 6/5, and you have your French 4/3. All of these chords have the following tones. They all have a lowered sixth in the bass. They all have a sharp 4, or a raised fourth if you prefer to think of it. And the Italian 6/3 has scale degree 1. The German 6/5 also has 1. The French 4/3 also has 1. The German 6/5 has your lower third. The French 4/3 has your standard scale degree 2. Okay? What's important to note is that these chords tend to be found in root position with scale degree lowered 6 in the bass. But these upper notes can be found in any configuration that you choose to use. But again, your sharp 4 rises to 5, your lowered 6 descends down to 5 in all of these chords. Okay? Again, your German 6/5 likes to proceed to a cadential 6/4. Your French 4/3 likes to proceed to a 5 or a 5/7 chord. Your Italian 6/3 likes to proceed to a 5 chord or a 5/7 chord. So I hope this clarifies things concerning augmented 6 chords. What we haven't done is complete an intervallic analysis of it. So let's look at the structure of an augmented 6 chord. Let's go back to the key of C major. Here's your standard C major chord, 1, and now we are going to compose an augmented 6 chord in the key of C. We need to lower sixth, we need to use 1, and we need to sharp 4. This is an Italian 6/3 chord. There is your augmented sixth. There is your augmented sixth interval. It sounds that A flat descends down to a G. The F sharp up on top ascends to the G, and then the C proceeds to the leading tone. So one more time, the chord functions. One more time. If we wanted to make this chord into a German 6/5, you'd need to add the third, the lowered third, which would be your E flat. And if you wanted to make it into a French 4/3, you'd need to include the D. See you next time.